It's interesting to look at the progression of Wonder Woman's character design over the decades and how her visual outlook reflected the status of her character, given the amount of writers that have tackled Wonder Woman in the main DC Comics continuity. Some artists decided to tap into their flow state and create design elements that were so magnificent they became synonymous with any iconic Wonder Woman costume. There have also been other renditions that will have you wondering what the creative team was smoking in the writer's room and how some of these concepts even got past editorial. I'll be taking a look at Diana's primary costume as Wonder Woman since her first appearance in the mainline comics, so not including any adaptations or Elseworlds set on separate Earths. And it'll be suits worn over an extended period of time, or a series of designs that were emblematic of a specific era, not just some battle armor or outfit worn for only 3 issues or something. But first, a quick word from today's sponsor. You can make your personal browsing experience more efficient with today's sponsor, Opera. Many regular browsers make it challenging when trying to navigate through a multitude of different tabs at once. The Tab Islands feature in the Opera browser allows for natural grouping, as I'm able to group the different tabs open based on topic or genre. I can have my comic surfing sites in one group and sites related to content creation in the other, and I can expand them or collapse them as needed to save space. Sometimes I like to have some good tunes play in the background while doing research for videos, and the Opera browser player gives me the chance to control the music without ever interrupting any activities. I can also detach the player from the sidebar and move it anywhere on the screen, even outside the browser. Opera allows users to customize the look of their browser by altering the theme with animated backgrounds and UI colors. The theme gallery comes with many cool customizable options. For example, my favorite one is Cyber City. The split screen feature is an insane kludge in making the experience more productive. You just have to drag one tab down and there you go. Some of these omnibus prices can be a little crazy, so it's cool whenever I can compare and contrast prices to make sure I'm getting the best deal possible. No need to constantly switch between windows. You can check out Opera for yourself by clicking the link in the description or by checking the top pinned comment below. Thanks to Opera for sponsoring today's video. Wonder Woman made her first appearance in the pages of All-Star Comics issue 8 in October 1941, created by William Moulton Marston and Harry George Peter. This issue featured the origin of Steve Trevor's crash landing on Paradise Island, and the Amazons deciding to send their best and strongest warrior to travel with Steve to America to help fight the forces of hate and oppression. After entering and winning the tournament that determined who would travel with Steve against her mother's wishes, Diana is gifted a costume designed by Hippolyta to be worn by the winner of the contest in the States. William Moulton Marston described his concept of Wonder Woman to be psychological propaganda for the type of woman he believed should rule the world, both politically and economically. The idea was to make her a dominant force while also making her loving, maternal, and feminine. Marston described her bracelets as being representative of Diana's submission to the goddess of love Aphrodite, and her lasso as representing woman's allure and charm, which can compel others to do their bidding. One of the better known facts about the creator of Wonder Woman was his polyamorous relationship with his wife Elizabeth Marston and a former student of his at Tufts University named Olive Byrne, who later became his research assistant. Olive Byrne eventually moved in with the Marstons, and William Marston had 2 children with each woman. Some of the design elements of Wonder Woman were inspired by Olive Byrne, such as her bracelets, which served as the original inspiration for Wonder Woman's. The eldest son of William Marston and Olive Byrne believed that his mother might have been the inspiration for Wonder Woman's appearance in general, noting that Diana resembled Olive more than Elizabeth Marston. Harry G. Peters' original sketch of the costume featured the blue skirt, bracelets, red boots that resembled some sort of Roman contraption, a golden tiara, and an eagle on the chest. Marston was pretty lenient when it came to his instructions to Peter on how to draw Wonder Woman. His initial requirements were for her to look quote-unquote as powerful as Superman, as sexy as Miss Fury, as scantily clad as Sheena the Jungle Queen, and as patriotic as Captain America. The second iteration of Wonder Woman's Golden Age look traded in the skirt for the star-spangled briefs and a slightly different white belt. Another version in the late 1940s had Diana rocking red lace-up sandals. The late 1960s to early 70s might be the weirdest era for Wonder Woman throughout her entire comic history. Dennis O'Neil and artist Mike Sekowsky were brought onto the Wonder Woman book, where they decided to remove the Amazons and Themyscira from Earth, took away Diana's powers and abilities, and had her ditch her traditional costume for more streetwear. The Amazons on Themyscira had been living on Earth for about 10,000 years and had exhausted their magic in their efforts to help mankind. They had to briefly travel to another dimension to rest up and replenish their powers. But Wonder Woman couldn't go, as she had to help Steve Trevor with his mission to stop Dr. Cyber. As a result, she had to partake in a ceremony that would remove her powers and make her a regular human, now living a life as Diana Prince. She encounters an old Chinese blind man named I Ching, who came from an ancient monastery and teaches her karate to help replace her lost Amazon traits. Diana also opens up her own fashion boutique shop while undergoing her martial arts training and tackling more spy-esque missions. Dennis Dennis O'Neil at the time saw all of this as an opportunity to not make her dependent on her superpowers, making her more human and keeping with the feminist agenda. Diana wore a variety of different outfits and jumpsuits during this time from 1968 to 1972, rocking a multitude of different colors and fashion styles. The creative team essentially turned Wonder Woman into a James Bond archetype and had her romantically involved with more than one man throughout this period. Unsurprisingly, this sudden shift in her character alienated many longtime fans of the original Wonder Woman books. One of the leaders of the feminist movement that emerged in the 1960s, Gloria Steinem, expressed her grievances with the changes to Wonder Woman's character. She co-founded America's first national feminist magazine named Miss Magazine that had the first issue debut in 1972, with the cover featuring Wonder Woman in her Golden Age outfit. This spearheaded the campaign to return the character back to her roots, as Warner Communications at the time was the owner of DC Comics and an investor of Miss Magazine. Wonder Woman would return to her classic form and regain her powers in 1973.
Boy, did I screw that up. What I did, in effect, was take the feminist icon and depower her. I really dropped that one. I thought I was on the side of feminism. Sorry.
I forgive you.
This revamped costume in the 70s had a different eagle logo that connected to a golden belt. It got rid of the white outlines on the boots, and it was the first costume to adopt the more bikini-esque shaped briefs. The year 1982 came with a slight design change, mainly with Wonder Woman's chest plate. A women's organization called the Wonder Woman Foundation wanted her to endorse them, designing a new chest plate for her to wear with a stylized W instead of the golden eagle. The W was meant to represent women everywhere rather than just Wonder Woman herself. The president of DC Comics at the time, Jeanette Kahn, came up with the idea of replacing the golden eagle with the double W design, and the company had spent a lot of money to trademark it. The Crisis on Infinite Earths event famously rebooted the DC Comics continuity, and George Perez came in as the writer and artist of the post-Crisis Wonder Woman book. Her design in his run is very similar to her last pre-Crisis outfit, with the subtle differences being her hair being a lot more curly, more stars on the trunks, and the bracelets being larger in size. Perez also got rid of the heels on Wonder Woman's boots. Some artists afterwards, going into the 21st century, would go to certain extreme lengths when it came to the dimensions of Wonder Woman's trunks.
What's all that movement back there? What's all that movement back there?
Queen Hippolyta at one point became uncertain of Diana's duties as Wonder Woman, believing she hadn't done enough to reform Patriarch's world. Impossible questions were asked of her, like if children were safe from poverty or if she was able to stop violence altogether. Hippolyta held a new contest, with Diana allowed to participate, to determine whether she should continue being Wonder Woman or if the title should be handed to someone else. Artemis wins the contest and is given the Wonder Woman costume to carry the Amazon's message of peace in man's world. Since she was no longer permitted to be Wonder Woman, Diana wore a completely different getup as she returned to Boston. It's a pretty big departure from the other designs that were crafted for her, now rocking straightened hair and black biker shorts with leather gloves, boots, and a blue leather jacket. For some reason, there are oddly placed straps on her abdomen, and she wears a sports bra connected to straps that go around her neck underneath the jacket. Thank God this suit only lasted for about 8 issues before Diana regained her title as Wonder Woman, because this joint right here is butt ugly. A couple of issues after getting her old costume back, a new one was designed that had fewer stars, a bigger chest emblem and tiara, and a bigger belt that connected to the chest emblem. It was worn throughout John Byrne's run on the heroine. Her design in 2006 after Infinite Crisis is practically identical to her initial post-Crisis design by George Perez. The only differences are the belt being more reminiscent of the double W logo and the chest emblem somewhat combining the eagle with the W symbol. Honestly, this is probably my favorite Wonder Woman design. I kind of like the top of the eagle head that sticks out slightly above the chest plate and prefer the more sleek angled look of the belt compared to the other suits. But this and the Perez design are almost identical, so that would also be amongst my favorites. Curly hair Diana just does something for me. In the pages of Wonder Woman issue 600, which came out in 2010, Jim Lee designed a new costume for J. Michael Straczynski's run that was meant to be more protective, functional, and practical. This outlook added more armor that could pass as street gear and scaled back on the iconic elements of a Wonder Woman design. The tiara and belt are thinner than previous iterations, darker colors are incorporated throughout with black leather pants and a small dark blue jacket. This suit had shorter gold bracelets that were more stylized, with an almost handwritten W symbol to portray the full effect whenever she crossed crosses her arms. The size of the chest insignia is also reduced significantly. The emphasis on functionality came from wanting the character to blend in better and not stand out as much in crowds, as opposed to if she were wearing more traditional Wonder Woman attire, going by the model of what the character would look like if she was first made in 2010 and had no prior history. This all stemmed from an alternate timeline created by the goddess Nemesis. The time stream alters 20 years in the past, where Themyscira is destroyed, Hippolyta and most of the Amazons were killed before Diana as a baby was smuggled out of the island. She was raised in America with some of the surviving Amazons. With a new design, Straczynski wanted to toughen her up and give her a modern sensibility. By itself, I don't think the suit is too bad. It's certainly better than the biker look from the 90s, but I'm not sure how anybody on the creative team thought this look was gonna stick. It's as if they took everything cool and iconic about the classic costume and just neutered it, which I understand was kind of the point because they wanted to hone in on a practical suit they think she'd wear if she was created in the 21st century. But then you'd have things like the choker on her neck, which just looks tacky and lame to me. Without the jacket, the gold bands around her arms look a bit ridiculous. 2011 brought us the famous New 52 reboot, where everybody got a new makeover to varying degrees. For Wonder Woman, she was given a brand new origin, creative team, and costume. Jim Lee laid out the design for New 52 Wonder Woman, with openness allowed for artists like Cliff Chang, who was the artist of the Brian Azzarello run, to refine it. The original solicits for Wonder Woman and Justice League issue 1 showed her with pants, but they were later removed before those issues were published. The biggest stark contrast from previous suits is the color scheme, switching the gold accents that were on the chest, belt, and tiara for silver, and having blue leather boots instead of red. Despite the issues I have with New 52 Wonder Woman, her design definitely isn't one of them. I think it's a pretty solid foundation for how the shape of the brief should look. It practically gets everything down pat minus the lack of gold accents. In 2015, the Wonder Woman run by Meredith and David Finch introduced a new armored suit that lasted for about 7 issues. The costume first seen in the New 52 was worn when she first left Themyscira, and the creatives wanted to give Wonder Woman a look that better resembled what the other members of the Justice League were wearing. She goes to Hephaestus, claiming she was just a girl with a lot to prove to the people around her and has learned a lot about herself since she left the island. The new costume is a reflection of everything she was at that time: the god of war, queen, and a warrior for justice. This time around, Wonder Woman has full body armor that incorporates more traditional Wonder Woman colors, long sleeves and leggings with thigh-high boots. Her bracelets came with retractable spikes, and the armor now has shoulder pads. It's a bit busy with some of the elements like the neck collar and the stars at random places, but it's not terrible.
I mean, it's alright, like, overrated as fuck in my opinion. I mean,
the last major arc of the New 52 was the Darkseid War event, where both Darkseid and the Anti-Monitor were at war with one another. Many people assumed Wonder Woman's look in Batman vs Superman: Dawn of Justice was the sole inspiration for her design leading up to Darkseid War, since the first look at her costume in the movie was released online a year prior to the Justice League comic event by Jeff Johns. But it was actually Jeff Johns asking Jason Fabok to design a new outfit based on a design he made 5 years prior for his DC submission portfolio. They wanted to aim for a more classic look to give the book a more timeless feel and longer life. The artist's original portfolio design took a few elements from a few different Wonder Woman cosplays he saw online, taking that old design and mixing it up with the movie version, or how Fabok describes it as something that was half New 52 and half movie. The suit made its debut in Justice League issue 36, a few issues prior to the start of the Darkseid War storyline. The bracelets are much more heavy-duty, resembling gauntlets. The suit brings back a more eagle-like crest on the chest plate from the older Wonder Woman designs, and the leather boots are replaced with more armored ones. I really can't say anything outside of the fact that this suit is a work of art. Jason Fabok was in his bag when designing this outfit.
This isn't water. This is gas.
He felt as if Diana should dress in a way that reflected her Greek warrior heritage. The one element he borrowed from BVS was the layered Greco-Roman leather skirt look, but not copying it exactly, as he wanted to alter some of the angles on the bottoms of each strip to make them all point in one direction. It pretty much set the precedent for what Wonder Woman would look like in mainline comics from that point onward, specifically with the battle skirt and more armored appearance. She's been wearing a battle skirt in present-day DC stories ever since, despite the fact that both Batman and Superman have gone back to wearing the classic trunks. DC Rebirth sought to bring back a lot of the post-crisis elements fans had missed throughout the 5 years in the New 52. The nature of the Amazons that was established in the New 52 had been retconned, and Diana got a new origin. Writer Greg Rucka approached artist Liam Sharp and asked him what he wanted to do with the new design. He said, Like the DCEU suit? Sharp said, yeah, and Rucka was like, alright, let's just do that then. The red and gold color scheme makes a comeback with a golden tiara, red knee-high boots with gold knee guards and accents. The brighter blue leather skirt is less tattered compared to the previous suit, and the golden chestplate closely resembles the post-crisis iterations. The first chunk of the Rebirth run featured stories set both in the past and in the present day. Nicola Scott was the artist for the Year 1 story arc, and she wanted to essentially take the movie costume and make it more comic booky with brighter colors. It was meant to make Diana look more optimistic, as it was her first outing as a superhero, coming fresh off of Themyscira, while the current day Rebirth suit was a more mature version that was scuffed and a bit worn out. Wonder Woman would sometimes wear a ceremonial red cape, which adds like 10 extra points in the gradebook for Diana looking cool in any comic panel. The years that followed would bring us the most recent iteration of the costume, with the battle skirt length being a bit longer and the tiara being slightly altered. Daniel Sempere is the artist for Tom King's Wonder Woman run that's currently ongoing, and he added some slight adjustments to the design. These include shortening the bracelets and making the overall look less armor heavy. It's a pretty good looking suit, I can't even lie. This is probably my favorite version of the suit that incorporates the skirt due to its simplicity and very vibrant colors. That just about covers the most prominent design changes Wonder Woman has experienced throughout the decades in DC Comics. I'm sure there have been some minor altered suits that slipped through the cracks and weren't mentioned here, but I think the ones highlighted capture the general idea of how her costumes have evolved. What is your all-time favorite comic Wonder Woman suit? Are you hoping modern titles will go back to a more classic look with a swimsuit look, or do you prefer the battle skirt DC's been giving her for the past decade? I think with the sheer amount of talented artists that have given their take on the character's costume, the next major adaptation should be able to craft something well executed and distinct from the DCEU era, while also staying true to the character's roots.